This is the 501st Battle Pack, and over the past few months, me and a few other builders had made 4 alternate builds out of this set, and we used an extra copy after every one. And this was all part of the 501st alternate build competition, where me and those previously mentioned builders all had to make the best alternate build we could in 4 rounds. And each round had a set prompt that we had to go for, and just like I said previously, we used an extra set after every round. So for round 1, we only used 1 set, but for round 4, we were up to 4 sets. And you can check out an in-depth look at all 4 of my entries, as well as my fellow builders' channels linked down below. But today I just wanted to make a quick summary video over all 4 of my entries and my side of this competition. And in order to cover all these entries, we're going to go ahead and start at the beginning with round 1. And round 1, I don't actually have built anymore. That model got disassembled so I could build the IES for round 2. So I suppose a few pictures will have to suffice. But the prompt for round 1 was to make a microscale build, and I chose to make a droid AAT. I had this idea very early on after building the battle pack for the first time and getting familiar with the pieces. I knew that this inventory of parts had the ability to accomplish the shape of a droid AAT, and not only the shape, but I managed to work in the main features as well. It has one large main cannon up top, with 2 cannons on either side of the tank, and then it's also got a small rear access door. This droid AAT was a really fun build, and it was a nice way to ease into the challenge and alternate builds using this set. And despite having the cannons on the droid AAT, it just wasn't enough to take down Lego Men's microscale V-Wing, and he took home first place on that round. This was a really fun build, and it was pretty interesting considering most of us don't really build in micro scale that often, but I think it proved to be a good prompt and it eased us into this competition even further. And speaking of going further in this competition, let's head into round 2. And this is where the heat got turned on. It's not quite heating up, but the heat's definitely on. And the prompt that we had set for round 2 was a speeder. We had to take 2 sets and make the best speeder that we could. And with 2 battle packs, I created the IES speeder, the Infill Exfil support speeder. And this round was much more friendly in terms of parts. One 501st Battle Pack doesn't really have the best inventory of pieces. I know it might not sound crazy, but there's not a single jumper plate involved in any of this. We had to go all 4 rounds without a single jumper. And for some people that might not be a big deal, but my goodness, I needed those sometimes. But despite not having any jumpers, 2 battle packs proved to be good enough, and I fell in love with this IES speeder as soon as I finished building it. This is meant to be a very fast but heavily armed speeder bike that can assist in infill and exfil operations. This is definitely the smoothest build that I made out of the whole competition. I made a good use of tiles as well as the side of the bricks here, but my favorite part on this entire speeder has to be this line of cannons in the back. You can choose to make these special ammo launchers like smoke grenades or grenade launchers, or just standard blasters, but I absolutely love all 4 cannons lined up like that. And also the front end of the speeder here. Like I said in the original video, I think it looks like some kind of animal, but I'm not sure which, but it definitely looks cool. And then with the remaining leftover pieces, I made this small deployable defensive wall. With each side of it being foldable, this kind of looks like a modular military prefab that would get dropped in by some kind of droid or a small ship, and then it would be deployed in combat. With access to more parts, round 2 was definitely a little bit more fun, and we all got to add a little bit more of our own personal touch to these sets with more pieces available. And while this IES was quick and speedy, Dorian's combat land speeder had the troopers and the armor to take me out, and he got first place on that round. And now, round 3. The heat just got turned on, but now it's really heating up. And the prompt for this round? A walker. We had to use 3 sets to create the best walker that we could. And going into round 3, I didn't really have any concrete plans, just an idea. I wanted my walker to be obviously inspired by the ATTE. So with the idea in my head, I got to building and I managed to make the ATLCT, the All-Terrain Low Crawling Transport. And the ATLCT is a small but mighty 4-legged transport walker that comes with an optional top cannon for more firepower. This one was a really fun build once I got the gears turning, because I actually started with the legs, and then once I had a solid foundation, I only had to work up from there, and my favorite area was probably the cockpit. I think this area looks the most like a Republic AT walker like the ATTE or the ATOT. And despite being a transport walker, it does actually have a few weapons, with 1 chin-mounted cannon for the pilot to control, and then 2 tail cannons on the back here. And then you also have the optional but massive top cannon that you can attach. And right now I don't have the maximum number of troopers in there, but if you'd like to see the full capability of the transport walker, you can check out the full video linked down below. I really enjoyed this round and this alternate build. Despite having no real plane going in, I was pretty scared originally, but you guys all managed to get the ATLCT in a first place. And for that, I can't thank you guys enough. That meant the world to me that you guys enjoyed this build so much. But enough about round 3. Let's move on to the final round. Round 4. The heat's all the way up and it's absolutely burning. The prompt for this round, a dropship. We had to take 4 sets and create the best dropship that we could. And just like round 3, I had absolutely no plans going into it, but an idea. I wanted my dropship to be inspired by the 2009 and 20th anniversary Imperial dropship sets. Those are 2 fan favorite sets, and it's a perfect template for a dropship. And with those 4 sets and a little bit of time, I managed to build the RHAD, the Republic Heavy Attack Dropship. The Republic Heavy Attack Dropship has space for 1 pilot to fly the dropship, and 11 troopers to rapidly deploy into combat. And despite being a dropship, the ship portion alone has enough firepower to go into combat by itself. We've got one chin-mounted cannon with a blaster on either side of the cockpit, and then if we move up from the cockpit towards the engines, we have a double-barrel cannon on each engine with missile launchers as well. And then if we head towards the back of the ship, we have one final tail cannon to keep any pursuers at bay. I'm incredibly happy with how my alternate build for this round turned out. Round 4 was definitely the scariest because we had the maximum access to parts, so that meant more creativity. And the guys I'm competing against are some pretty serious builders, so I knew I was going to have to whip up something special. I was pretty scared going into it, but after it's all said and done, I think this entire vehicle looks pretty put together. And I think it looks pretty good next to the ATL-CT. I think the building styles are pretty similar on both compared to the IES. And while I do like the IES, it's noticeably sleeker and smoother than these two bulky builds. But my round 4 build is actually a little similar to the IES in that it has an extra side build, being a defensive wall. Now of course it's not much to go over, it's just a heavily fortified defensive wall that can be put down in combat with one turret locked in the middle. But like I said, I'm incredibly happy with how round 4 turned out, both the dropship and the little side build. But despite having these 11 troopers and an extra defensive wall to keep them protected, Brickular Brick's Stinger dropship swooped in and took us out. And he took home first place on that round. And with that final build, that pretty much covers my entire side to the 501st alternate build competition. A big thank you to Brickular Bricks for coming up with this idea and bringing us all together for this competition. And a big thank you to all you guys for participating in this competition, watching all these videos, and casting your votes for each round. It means the world to us that you guys were so eager to participate, and we can't thank you enough for that. You guys have been very vocal about your support for us builders and this overall competition series in general. And I'm not sure what the future holds, but rest assured this won't be the last time that we're seeing each other. Maybe we'll throw bricks another day, but until that day comes, I'll see you guys next time. Peace, fellas.